After what feels like 14 years of seeing nothing but this same screenshot of Peter and Miles standing next to each other staring directly at the viewer like that meme where you're the weirdest guy at the party, the PlayStation Showcase has delivered onto us the sweet release of death. Released a gameplay trailer. Okay, let me get the obligatory complaining out of the way. I'm sure they're going the synthetic symbiote route for Venom like the Ultimate Comics and having this thing be made by Oscorp with hopes of curing Harry Osborn's goblinism, since they do mention that in the gameplay. But I do kind of hope they go, yeah, we found this thing in a crater after a space rock fell into Central Park. It's actually an alien, I guess. But they probably won't. They're taking a lot of ideas from the Ultimate cartoon for some reason. Tony Todd as Venom, once again, one of the greatest casting choices I've ever damn heard of, but I really hope Harry Osborn isn't Venom like the Ultimate show because I love Eddie Brock so much, but we'll see what happens. But first, a word from our sponsor. In 2020, there were over 5 million car crashes. That's more than 15,000 a day and 600 an hour. Just back in December, my own dad slid off an icy road and broke his hip in 4 places, and the thought of getting legal help was so daunting for him. Those in an accident can be entitled to more than you think. When something like that happens, it's always good to have someone in your corner looking out for your best interest. Someone like the fine folks at Morgan & Morgan. If you've been in an accident, there are certain things you need to do. Make sure you're okay, make sure you get a police report, make sure you contact your insurance, and make sure you get legal representation. So if you're injured and don't know where to start, with Morgan & Morgan it's so easy. Morgan & Morgan have modernized injury law by making the process as easy and streamlined as possible, so you can submit a claim in 8 clicks or less. No need for you to visit law offices and sit through timely consultations. You can submit a claim and have a lawyer review your case and get started on helping you right away. You can submit your case details, sign contracts, upload documents, and medical records all from your cell phone. And you can even text your attorney and legal team throughout the duration of your case. With Morgan & Morgan, you can submit a claim without ever having to leave the couch. If you're ever injured in an accident, you can check out Morgan & Morgan. For more information, go to forthepeople.com or pound law. That's pound 529 from your cell phone. Now back to the video. All that being said, holy shit, the symbiote looks amazing! I love the way they kept the suit simple and classic at a distance, and the details are only more apparent up close. It almost looks like the same shape as the red and blue suit where the more padded sections are, but the parts that'd be blue are weird, muscular sinew, and it's all creepy to look at. It kinda looks like both textures are inspired by each movie Venom. I've always been a fan of the idea of the symbiote looking like gross skin on top of the wearer, so they nailed the design for me. Plus, I like the chest logo is so classic. Most redesigns ignore the way it connects from the front to back, but I like the way that it evokes the look of like a rib cage. I think Insomniac figured out how to do a realistic symbiote design that avoids the pitfalls that befell development of Spider-Man 3, where the lack of details and extreme shininess make it look like a leathery gimp suit. Now, the only thing they need to accomplish to make this the greatest game of all time is ensuring that Venom doesn't have the creepy pointy toes, and his feet also look like shoes like this one. If they can nail that, then Game of the Year. Black Costume Boys! If only Miguel was invited. Aww.
Why are you blue?
Doing a Black Costume Saga adaptation with Brooklyn Spidey present sounds like a great idea, because he'll need to go give Peter a taser noogie to get that suit off and the conflict will be fun. It'd be like a Spider-Man mirror match boss fight. I'm already stoked by the fact that the map has been expanded to include Queens. I really hope Brooklyn is in the cards because that's Miles' stomping grounds in the comics, and I think it kinda sucks that they had to stick him in Harlem in the previous game to avoid making too many expansions to the open world in a game that's not a numbered sequel. But he's already become like Harlem's Spider-Man and everyone there loves him and stuff, so maybe that ship has sailed. The gameplay improvements are minor but interesting. It seems that the combat has really expanded for the black suit, and it gave me a big old blast of nostalgia for Web of Shadows from back in the day. I like this part where he just holds himself up on one hand and repeatedly kicks this guy in the nads because that just seems so excessive. Someone on Twitter pointed out to me that that actually might be a direct parallel to a combat move from one of the Web of Shadows ports. I'm not exactly jazzed about Brooklyn Spidey becoming Electro and being able to teleport with lightning, but in the comics he's turning that Venom blast shit into a lightsaber, so we're already too far gone. Sure, he's just Electric Spider-Man, whatever, it's too late to turn back now. I'm hoping the swinging feels better in this one. Less automated and more physics-based like the Fortnite web shooters, but it seems like their goal for evolving that mechanic was the web wings and gliding on air currents, so we'll have to see what it feels like once I can actually play it for myself. I feel like the marketing for this game, leaning so heavily on Kraven thus far, has the same kind of bait and switch that they pulled for Mr. Negative and Doc Ock in the first game. Kraven will probably be a problem for the first half of the game, then Peter will be all like, "You can't escape me, I'll chase you to the ends of the earth," etc., etc. And that'll activate the second half of the story where Venom happens because Miles will have to stop Peter from eating Kraven's face or whatever. Maybe they'll rattle Peter into a bloodlust by burying him alive like Last Hunt since he's got the right outfit on. Granted, it's an alien skinwalker suit, not the cloth costume made for him to let the goth consume him in one swath by the girl with whom he had relationships on a rooftop instead of a room. But I don't know if they'd go for a Kraven's Last Hunt adaptation since it's pretty dark. Could just be wishful thinking on my part, but I'd enjoy this. Not like the movies are doing that. You think Aaron Taylor Johnson's gonna shoot himself in the face? No. Glad to see the lizard is growing into a giant spiky super monster again for Black Suit Spider-Man to fight while Kraven hunts them both. Man, it's like 2007 all over again!
I'm going to die!
I'm happy with everything I've seen of the gameplay so far, and I hope the costume selection includes all the previous ones and a new selection of various symbiote reskins for Peter. Like, even more comic accurate, Poison, other thing also called Poison, Raimi black suit, go down swinging suit with the dumb sunglasses eyes, I don't know why he has that. Maybe Spider Carnage if you really want to push it. I do wonder how alternate costumes will be handled as this series goes along. The last main game was 5 years ago, and the gaps in development along with the leaps in gaming technology are going to force them to update some of the models as they go along. I hope they don't have to completely redo all the alternate skins like the Arkham games did, because that just sounds like a giant pain in the ass. And it may force them to leave out some of the previous ones for budgetary reasons. But I also love the idea of them keeping all of them and just having this massive library of like 60 fully unique costumes per character once they get to the third game. We'll have to see what their plan is for that. You know, I haven't done a Gutter Space in a while, and a couple of other cool things came out that I want to talk about. Do you mind if I cover some of that too, even if it's older news? I better not check the video engagement and see 80% of viewers clicked off when I started talking about Transformers, because I really want to talk about Transformers. Okay, let me start by saying I don't give a shit about Wheeljack or what he looks like, even if they decide to make him a giant robot Steve Urkel. I'm glad this movie has the stones to just give us Unicron and be a sort of spiritual Transformers 6, except now Unicron isn't the Earth's core like that Transformers Prime arc, just a big orange Galactus ripoff ball. I love planet-eating, scary, moon-sized Transformer. He was the final boss of the PS2 game, and he was in all the dubbed anime shows on Cartoon Network. I was worried this could be some dumbass, we gotta build him up for multiple movies before we actually fight him thing, like Thanos. Back in the 80s, they introduced him at the beginning of the film, built him up throughout the middle of it, and then they fought him at the end, and it was epic. The MCU has riled everyone up into thinking movies need to spread out every single storyline across several years, when sometimes it's most effective and exciting to just get it all done in 2 hours. I will say though, I have mixed feelings on the final shot of this trailer. I will praise it for the clarity of action, its well-defined character designs, and a lot of its really fantastic animation, but it looks like the same big gray sludge desert dimension from Endgame. I think screenwriters keep placing the biggest action scenes in empty fields like Goku to avoid Man of Steel criticisms of property damage, but the answer is to just show the heroes, you know, heroically saving people during the fight. Reminds us what they're fighting for, and it heightens the stakes. Actually, this is a hideously poorly defined CGI piece of terrain. This is a Beast Wars movie! I've seen a lot of discourse about this versus the Bayverse's action scenes, and I'd like to give my 2 cents on that debate that no one cares about. Bay's action scenes had the benefit of filming in real locations instead of CG planes, and mixed practical elements with animated ones in very believable ways. To me, a long take in live action will always be more impressive than one rendered in 3D, because you have to coordinate that much harder to make sure every element of the scene runs smoothly, and it takes a lot of rehearsal and planning in case something unexpected forces a full retake. A long uncut shot in complete CG still takes so much work to pull off with animation and compositing, but the rogue elements aren't really a factor when you can edit and control every asset on the screen and tweak the timing and movement however you want. Michael Bay could blend both of these processes together in really believable and interesting ways, and continues to do so in some of his more recent work. But I would absolutely never say they were more colorful movies. Sorry, Mauricio, you're wrong actually. The guy liked to film at golden hour, and that made some pretty shots, but between the completely over-the-top lens flare and almost exclusively silver Decepticons, the orange glow of the setting sun didn't really help make the action scenes more memorable and clear. Plus, you got that shit with the hyperactive, fast-cutting, focal point changing in every shot. Look here, no there, no here, no over there. And the aspect ratio changing like 10 times a minute in some of the later ones. And the camera just never sitting still and always being at a Dutch angle, like the tripod was too short on one side and was on a skateboard rolling down an 85-degree angled hill. Just because Rise of the Beast looks muddy like most big-budget movies lately, let's not revise history and pretend this stuff was considerably better or something. Film Twitter has melted my brain. Maybe this is all obvious to normal people, but I feel like I need to remind a subset of you that have gone completely insane. Revenge of the Fallen is not a bold, challenging film with complex moral messages crafted by an auteur director with a brilliant vision. These movies are goofy, mindless schlock with needlessly savage and brutal heroes, repetitive plots, and a lot of over-the-top racist caricatures that are the butt of the joke.
What's cracking, little bitches?
My first lieutenant. Designation Jazz.
This looks like a cool place to kick it.
And all the Transformers penis stuff.
Name's Willie. Yeah. Say my name. Say my name.
Enemy scrotum. I'm coming. I've come, because I'm coming. It is time to come. Let them come. I am coming. Prime is coming.
I watched it when I was 8 years old too, man. I promise, it's not underrated. You gotta let it go. You have to wake up. The accident was 10 months ago. Your family misses you. And while we're revising history and ignoring reality, Transformers 1 will apparently be the first animated Transformers movie in theaters. Optimus Prime died for nothing. You've heard me get annoyed at this before, but it bears repeating. Hollywood's attitude towards professional voice actors and animation in games is completely backwards and disrespectful. I'm not irritated with the voice cast because I hate change and want Peter Cullen to be Optimus forever. In all honesty, he's not even my favorite Prime voice actor. Gary Chalk is. Hey, go watch that video, by the way. I've always been open to other voices for the Transformers characters. David Kaye is great as a young Optimus, Gary Chalk is a legend, and even Alan Tudyk does a solid job. But what kind of voice work has Chris Hemsworth done? The Thor tie-in game? An episode of What If? I really would have preferred someone with more experience, and the same goes for the rest of this cast. This isn't to say that screen actors have historically never made the transition to voice acting successfully. Many screen actors have proven in the past that they can build a really respectable career in voice performances with the right training. People like J.K. Simmons, Ron Perlman, Diedrich Bader, Christian Shaw, Pamela Adlon, Clancy Brown, Mark Hamill, Keith David, Mila Kunis. And sometimes you have screen actors that just naturally have exaggerated voices that sound like cartoon characters already. Like Jack Black, Charlie Day, Jim Carrey, Jason Mantzoukas, Patrick Warburton, John Mulaney, and Alan Tudyk. Alan Tudyk especially has proven in a lot of DC projects over the last decade that he's got the chops and good range. So I didn't bat an eye at him getting cast for Earthspark. But like, Scarlett Johansson is the main female lead? Have you heard her voice? She's already so stoic and understated. Barring Soundwave, these guys aren't actually supposed to sound robotic. I just don't have much confidence in some of these picks for the characters given their track records. Maybe Key will be okay. I couldn't really tell it was him as Toad in the Mario movie. Lawrence Fishburne will do alright for sure, but the rest? Sometimes you can pull a miracle with a great voice director like they did for Invincible to get the celebrity voice cast to actually sound like they give a shit. But if they don't have that, this movie runs the risk of having the most bored-sounding Transformers since the Rooster Teeth shows. Bunch of non-union scabs! On the other side of the 80s action figure cartoon coin, the Mutant Mayhem trailer has me seriously impressed with its main cast for the Four Turtles. They went out of their way to find actual experienced voice actors with multiple years on the job who are also real teenagers. Look, Leo is one of them funny gumball kids instead of some weird nonsense like Tom Holland and Timothy Chalamet mumbling lines to each other while audibly texting between takes to plan their sleepover. Timothy's gonna bring the nachos and Tom's gonna get the root beer floats and Zendaya's sleeping upstairs alone. Well, that's all the new stuff I can think about for now. Unless a lot of new stuff gets announced soon, you might see a long gap before the next Gutter Space, but rest assured, we're still doing them as long as there's more stuff for me to speculate on. Stay tuned for Extreme Heartbreak!